Hey, coin collectors and history enthusiasts, welcome back to your channel where we dive deep into the fascinating world of coins. Today we're talking about a small yet iconic piece of American history, the 1961 USA 1-cent coin, better known as the Lincoln cent. What's its story, and does it have any hidden value? Let's find out. First minted in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, the Lincoln cent is one of the longest-running coin series in U.S. history. By 1961, it had been in circulation for over 50 years. But what makes the 1961 cent particularly interesting? Let's explore its design, composition, and value today. In 1961, the Lincoln cent featured the classic design introduced in 1959 by Frank Gasparo. The Lincoln verse shows President Lincoln's profile, designed by Victor David Brenner. On the reverse, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, which replaced the earlier wheat ears design. If you look closely, you might even spot tiny details like Lincoln's statue inside the memorial. How cool is that? The coin is made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, which gives it that distinct reddish-brown hue when new. However, decades of circulation often dulls this shine. Let's talk numbers. In 1961, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 753 million coins, while the Denver Mint produced an astounding 1.7 billion. With such high mintage figures, this coin isn't rare, yet it's still highly collectible due to its circulated 1961 Lincoln cent today. In general, graded as extremely fine or about uncirculated, can be worth 10 to 15 cents. But here's where it gets interesting. Rare varieties and errors can dramatically increase the value. One of the most sought-after errors for this coin is the double die variety, where parts of the design appear duplicated. These can sell for $50 to $100 or more, depending on the condition. Another intriguing error is the off-center strike, where the design isn't properly aligned. Collectors love these quirks. How can you find a 1961 Lincoln cent with potential value? First, check your pocket change, old piggy banks, or even family coin jars. Many of these pennies are still out there. If you're serious about collecting, invest in a magnifying glass or a loupe to spot fine details. And consider having your coin professionally graded if you think it's special. Another tip, visit local coin shops or attend coin shows. Dealers often have boxes of common cents where you might just stumble upon a gem. The 1961 Lincoln cent is more than just a coin. It's a piece of American history that connects us to the past. Whether you're collecting for fun or looking for valuable varieties, this little penny has something for everyone. Have you found any unique 1961 cents in your collection? Let us know in the comments below. The 1961 USA 1-cent coin, part of the Lincoln cent series, carries a rich history rooted in both American culture and numismatics. Here's a breakdown of its historical significance. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait, breaking the tradition of using symbolic figures like liberty. The coin became an instant favorite due to Lincoln's legacy as one of America's most beloved presidents. The 1961 Lincoln cent was minted during a pivotal era in American history. President John F. Kennedy had just taken office, symbolizing a period of hope and change in the U.S. Of U.S. currency were widely used in daily transactions, making them a staple of American life since the early 20th century. This high copper content gave the coin its distinctive reddish hue when neuter displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a tribute to Lincoln's legacy. If viewed closely, Lincoln's statue can be seen between the columns. The inscriptions include, "The 1961 cent was part of a series that remained virtually unchanged for 5 decades, from 1959 to 2008, when the reverse design was replaced with the Lincoln Bicentennial Series in 2009. While the 1961 cent was a common coin in its time, its historical and sentimental value makes it an enduring collectible. It also serves as a reminder of Lincoln's enduring impact on American values and the nation's coinage. Collectors often treasure these coins not for their rarity, but for their connection to the past and the stories they tell. 1980 USA 1-cent coin. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just curious about the penny in your pocket, this video is for you. The 1980 1-cent coin, better known as the Lincoln penny, has a story that ties closely to American history. This coin features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner. This iconic design has been in circulation since 1909, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. The obverse side of the 1980 penny showcases a profile of President Lincoln, with the word Liberty on the left and the mint year 1980 on the right. Above his head, the words, "In God We Trust," are proudly displayed. A hallmark of American coinage turned to the reverse, we see the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparro. If you look closely, you can even spot a tiny depiction of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a remarkable detail for such a small coin. In 1980, the U.S. Mint produced over 7.4 billion Lincoln pennies across 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. That's right, billions. Here's the breakdown. So, what about the value? Well, in circulated condition, most 1980 Lincoln pennies are worth just their face value, 1 cent. However, some rare varieties and coins in creosomes, more. Let's break it down. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Keep an eye out for errors and varieties. Some 1980 pennies have double dies, particularly on the obverse. These errors can significantly boost the coin's value. Another variety to watch for is off-center strikes, which are always a collector's favorite. Remember, condition is everything in coin collecting. A clean, shiny coin with, stripes or wear is always worth more. But here's a tip. Don't clean your coins. Cleaning can damage the surface and reduce their value. Whether you're saving them for sentimental value or searching for rare varieties, the 1980 Lincoln penny is a wonderful addition to any collection. With billions minted, it's a piece of history you can easily hold in your hand. The 1980 USA 1-cent coin, commonly called the Lincoln penny, is part of a long-running coin series. Here's a detailed look at its historical significance in the context of its production. The Lincoln cent debuted in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a president's portrait, breaking away from the traditional allegorical figures, like Liberty, created by Frank Gasparro, remained until 2008, which remained largely unchanged since its introduction. In 1959, the coin's reverse transition from the original wheat ears of Lincoln's birth. This reverse, created by Frank Gasparro, remained until 2008. The 1980 penny features this Lincoln Memorial reverse, symbolizing unity in Lincoln's legacy as a leader who preserved the Union during the Civil War. The late 1970s and early 1980s were a period of economic difficulty in the United States. High inflation and fluctuating metal prices influenced coin production. Copper, a primary material for pennies, became increasingly expensive, leading to discussions about altering the coin's composition. While the 1980 penny was still struck using the traditional 95% copper and 5% zinc alloy, the rising cost of copper led to a major change just 2 years later. In 1982, the U.S. Mint switched to a copper-plated zinc composition, significantly reducing production costs. Thus, the 1980 penny represents one of the final years of the original copper alloy. The 1980 Lincoln cent saw record high mintages to meet public demand for small change. The U.S. Mint produced billions of these coins across its facilities. By the 1980s, The U.S. Mint had modernized its processes, enabling higher production rates and improved coin quality. However, this high production volume also meant that most 1980 pennies are not rare or particularly valuable in circulated condition, and Abraham Lincoln's depiction on the penny continues to remind Americans of his leadership and dedication to preserving the Union and ending slavery. The penny has been a part of daily American life for over a century, serving as a tangible link to history. Despite debates over its future due to production costs, it retains sentimental value for many. The 1980 Lincoln penny, though common, holds historical importance as part of a series that bridges generations. Its copper composition ties it to an era of stability before the transition to more cost-efficient materials. Whether in a collector's album or a jar of spare change, this coin remains a cherished piece of American history. 1991 USA 1-cent coin, commonly known as the Lincoln cent. Is it just a piece of copper-plated zinc, or could it hold some hidden value for collectors? Let's find out. The Lincoln cent has been a staple of American coinage since 1909, designed by Victor David Brenner to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. By 1991, this iconic coin had been circulating for over 80 years, but it had undergone significant changes in composition and minting. Let's start with some key details about the 1991 Lincoln cent. 1991 wasn't a particularly rare year for Lincoln cents. In fact, billions were minted, ensuring that these coins remained widely available even today. But, as always, condition, mint mark, and errors can make all the difference. When it comes to circulated 1991 Lincoln cents, their value is typically just their face value, 1 cent. However, if you're lucky enough to find an uncirculated coin, or one in mint state condition, it could fetch around 10 to 57, depending on its grade. A certified MS-67 example might even sell for $20 or more. So, should you keep your 1991 pennies? Absolutely. They're a fun way. To learn about coin collecting, and who knows, you might stumble upon a valuable error coin hiding in your pocket change. The 1-cent coin was first introduced in the United States in 1793. However, the most iconic and lasting design of the Lincoln cent was introduced much later in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Brenner's design featured Abraham Lincoln on the obverse front of the coin, and the reverse depicted the wheat stalks, symbolizing Lincoln's humble beginnings in a log cabin and his connection to farming. This design remained unchanged for several decades, and the coin became a staple of American currency. In 1959, the U.S. Mint decided to change the reverse design of the Lincoln cent to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The new design featured the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., a tribute to Lincoln's role in preserving the Union during the Civil War. This design, created by Frank Gasparro, remained on the reverse of the coin for over 50 years. A major change to the Lincoln cent occurred in 1982 when the U.S. Mint switched the coin's composition. For decades, the penny was made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, and the coin was made from the new zinc composition introduced in 1982. However, there were no major design changes in 1991, and the coin continued to circulate in the millions. In 2009, to commemorate the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the U.S. Mint issued special reverse designs that depicted different stages in Lincoln's life, such as his log cabin in Kentucky and his professional life in Illinois. These designs marked a significant shift in the history of the Lincoln cent, which had been unchanged for decades. Despite various calls for eliminating the penny due to its low purchasing power and high production cost, the Lincoln cent continues to circulate in the U.S. today. It is still produced by the U.S. Mint, though the debate over its future remains ongoing. The history of the USA 1-cent coin is rich and full of changes that reflect both the evolving history of the U.S. and the practical challenges of minting coins. The Lincoln cent, with its connection to one of the most revered figures in American history, remains a beloved coin despite its low value. The 1991 version of the Lincoln cent, though not particularly rare, continues to hold historical significance as part of this long tradition. 1984 penny. You might have one of these in your pocket right now, but how much is it really worth? In this video, we'll break down everything you need to know about the 1984 1-cent coin's value, how it has stood the test of time, and what collectors are looking for in these pennies. First, let's talk about the basics. The 1984 1-cent coin, commonly known as the Lincoln penny, is part of a long tradition of copper-based pennies. This coin was produced by the U.S. Mint in large quantities, and its obverse features the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner. The obverse is known for showing Lincoln's profile, which has remained relatively unchanged since its introduction in 1909. You'll also find the inscription Liberty above Lincoln's head, the date 1984 below, and the words In God We Trust to the left. On the reverse side, you'll see a shield and 2 stalks of wheat, a design that was used from 1909 until 1958. In 1959, the design was changed to feature the Lincoln Memorial. This specific coin is part of that second design, which features the famous memorial on the reverse. Now, you're probably asking, what's the value of a 1984 penny today? Well, the answer depends whether it's in circulation, and if there are any rare variations that might make it more valuable. In circulated condition, the 1984 penny is worth its face value, which is just 1 cent. That's because the U.S. Mint produced billions of these coins in 1984, making them relatively easy to find today. It's important to note that most of these coins were used in daily transactions, so they're not considered rare. However, if you happen to find an uncirculated 1984 penny, meaning it hasn't been used in transactions and is still in near-perfect condition, it could be worth a little more. A 1984 penny in gem uncirculated condition, graded at $1 to $3 depending on the market and its specific grading. While uncirculated 1984 pennies are worth more than face value, they're still not considered to be particularly rare. So, don't expect to find one of these for much more than a few dollars. However, there are certain things to look out for when you're inspecting your coins. Let's talk about some of the unique variations and errors that collectors look for in 1984 pennies. One of the most notable ones is the 1984 penny with die clashes. Die clashes occur when the dies that strike the coins come into Reagan in office for his second term. The 1984 penny was part of a larger series of copper-plated zinc coins that were being produced in huge numbers during this period. During the 1980s, inflation was relatively low, and the U.S. Mint was minting coins to keep up with the economic growth of the time. The 1984 penny might not have a huge historical significance, but it's an interesting snapshot of an era in U.S. coinage. So, to sum it all up, a 1984 penny in circulating condition is worth just 1 cent, nothing more, nothing less. However, if you find an uncirculated one, or a rare variety like a die clash or double die, it could be worth more, potentially up to a few dollars. So take a close look at your pennies. You never know what you might find. 1988. 1 cent coin, also known as the 1988 penny. If you're a coin collector or just curious about its value, you've come to the right place. Let's talk about its circulation history and how much it's worth today, and some important details every collector should know. Let's get started. The 1988 penny, like all U.S. pennies, features the iconic Abraham Lincoln on the front. This design has been around since 1909, and it was created by sculptor Victor David Brenner. On the reverse, we have the famous Lincoln Memorial, which was designed by Frank Gasparro. This reverse design was used from 1959 all the way to 2008, until the design was changed to feature a shield. In 1988, the U.S. Mint produced these coins in significant numbers. So let's talk about how this affects its value. In 1988, the U.S. Mint produced over 7.7 billion pennies across its three main mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. These coins were struck for regular circulation, which means they are very common today. Because of the high mintage, the 1988 penny doesn't command much of a premium unless it's in exceptional condition. So, how much is the 1988 penny worth in circulation? Well, if you find one in your pocket change, you're looking at a value of just these coins are not rare, and unless they're in exceptional condition, they won't fetch you more than their face value. Now, what if you have a shiny, pristine 1988 penny that has never been circulated? That's where things get interesting. In uncirculated condition, these coins can be worth anywhere from 10 to 50 cents, depending on their grade. The highest grade coins, especially those graded M67 or above, can reach $1 or more. But remember, the value is greatly affected by the coin's condition. A coin with only slight wear will be worth closer to a few cents, while a perfectly mint coin could fetch you a little more. If you have one that looks like it just came off the press, it's time to get it graded by a professional. When it comes to coins, their condition is key to determining their value. The coin grading scale ranges from poor to perfect mint state. If you're not familiar with grading, here's a quick rundown. So, if you have a 1988 penny in uncirculated or mint state condition, it can be worth more than just its face value. But don't rush off to sell just yet. Get it graded first. Let's take it up a notch. If you're lucky, you might stumble upon a 1988 penny with an error. Coin errors are a huge part of the increase a coin's value. Some common errors include where the coin shows a doubling of letters or numbers, most notably on Liberty or In God We Trust. Sometimes the die used to strike the coin gets damaged, leaving a visible crack or chip in the design. These varieties are much rarer than a standard 1988 penny, and they can be worth much more to collectors. Some error coins can fetch hundreds of dollars, depending on the severity of the error and the coin's condition. Okay, so you've got your 1988 pennies, and now you're wondering, how do I sell them or buy more? Well, there are a few places where you can find coins, buy or sell them, and connect with other collectors. Remember, the 1988 penny may not be a rare gem in terms of its general circulation, but as with all coins, the right condition and certain error types can make it a valuable piece for your collection. So there you have it. The 1988 penny might not be worth much in circulation, but if you've got an uncirculated one or an error variety, you could have something special on your hands. Don't forget to check your change, and if you find a coin that seems unusual, it might be worth getting it checked out. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe for more coin content. Got any 1988 pennies in your collection? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Thanks for watching and happy collecting.